Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Yes.
Looks like Dan and Vanessa might be muted.
Hello, this is Vanessa. I can
I
hear
should be on now.
Okay, good. All right. My apologies. It was definitely an error on my part. I was playing with Zoom and I got mixed up with meetings. Seem to be doing that kind of stuff a lot lately. But so I think we're on, except that we seem to have an issue with allowing attendees to attend. I just believe I fixed that, sent out an email. Hopefully they'll try again. Judging from my issue here, it's a good thing we decided to do a practice session. So, I'd like to call, if it's okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 4:17 p.m. We will open the hearing. Any objection or comments on opening the hearing from the board?
No.
Harry, move this down.
Pardon?
This. Move it down.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
Now we
better?
can hear you. Yes. Okay, so roll call of attendance of the board. Harry,
Here.
Nancy,
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Excellent. So everyone, oh, and Laura. And other panelists, we have Ray Maris, our town council. Ray?
Yeah. I'm here.
Brian from town council.
I'm here.
Vanessa.
Here.
Dennis.
Here.
And Dan Ensminger.
Here.
Did I get everybody that is on and that can hear me? All right, great. So,
Laura, are there people who are not panelists who are having trouble getting on? Is that what you said?
yes, the attendees are having an issue getting in. Wait a minute, we've got 5 that have made their way in. Yep, so it's the new link that I just sent out worked.
Good.
All right, so that means I'll need to make sure I fix the link for tomorrow night before then, to make sure that everybody can get in immediately at 4 o'clock tomorrow and going forward. So the idea for today is we have opened the public hearing. We will not be doing any deliberation or taking any votes today. We will just be going over a few things to make sure that everybody understands how this is going to work. We'll also be going over a few simple procedures. So everybody currently should be seeing on their screen the Town of Reading website. Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to pull us up to the page where we've been posting all of the documents pertaining to this hearing. Everybody see that list scrolling through?
Yes.
Okay, so we will be everything that has been sent to me as of midnight last night has been posted. Anything that was sent today will be posted after this hearing, but will be posted in time for tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Any questions or concerns about that? Actually, I'm sorry. I'll guarantee it'll be there by noontime tomorrow. Any questions or concerns about that? Okay. One thing that I wanted to confirm, Vanessa, did you get my request?
Did get your request, and I'll be able to turn that into you by tomorrow at noon.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. So this part is mostly for the Board of Registrars to be able to understand the Zoom webinar. And the first thing that we're going to kind of do is go through a little bit of practice on using Zoom. So just a little bit of patience both with me and the board as we go through this. First steps, just so that everybody is familiar on how to do so. If you take your mouse and you start to move it, down at the bottom of the screen, you'll have little buttons that show up. One of them allows for chat. You see that?
Yes.
And another one allows for raising your hand.
Which is that?
Which one is that?
Oh, I'm not seeing that one myself.
No, it's not on.
It's not on.
Supposed to be a little hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
Nobody sees it?
No.
No,
No. Record, share, chat, participants. Stop.
participants, screen, share screen and record. Record,
Record.
rather.
Don't hit leave.
No.
Laura, it's Vanessa.
Yep.
If you click on participants, a
Yep.
small box will pop up.
Got it.
And then there's 3 buttons on the bottom that say invite, mute me, or raise hand. That's where you can raise your hand.
We can't.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Why is it mine?
You gotta go to the box.
Okay, they did an update and it got
Never mind.
moved then.
I'm not.
Okay, so what you're going to do is click on the button down at the bottom that says participants.
Yep.
And then you should have a box pop up that has a list of everybody that's
Why am I
attended.
not clicking? Oh, that.
So did the box pop up?
Yep.
Okay, now at the very bottom.
Oh, you can scroll.
It says raise hand, right?
Yep. Or there's a button that has 3 little dots on it.
Button.
There's an actual technical term for that, but
3 little dots. Where?
3 little dots.
at the very bottom of the participants box.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Invite, mute, raise hand. Yeah.
All right, so you're going to click on raise hand. And then your hand should show up right there on the screen and also on the participants. Thank you, Vanessa.
You're welcome.
Okay. Hand went up.
Okay, so if you need to get the chair's attention anytime during the hearing, that's how you'll get my attention, is by raising your hand.
Participants. Yeah.
Okay?
I'll go to participants and raise hand.
Yep. Okay, so just so everybody's aware, the panelists at this point has the ability to mute and unmute themselves. If anyone, and I'm not always necessarily politically correct, as we all know, but I'm I'm just going to state that if anybody starts to talk out of turn, they will be muted. Just because we need to keep control of the hearing itself, and that includes the board. So raise your hand and wait until you're recognized by the chair before you speak, okay?
Yep.
It'll help us keep everything going. All votes that'll be taken will be taken as a roll call vote. Your name will be called and you will place your vote, and I will be recording those votes as your name is called out. Anything that, just for your information, you may use the chat to communicate back and forth with the chair, or if there's an issue such as a point of order. But you may not communicate with the entire board through the chat. That would be considered against open meeting law. Anything that is in chat is public record. So make sure that if you decide to use the chat, that you speak only to the chair, not to the entire board. Okay? Any questions so far? We doing all right?
Yes.
Harry, do you have a question?
Okay,
You're good?
raise my hand, get permission, talk, and mute.
That means somebody's already made us. Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. Anything that I have forgotten that we talked about that we need to discuss today?
So, Laura, just to be so that everybody is crystal clear, when you hit chat, and you want to communicate something just to Laura, your name doesn't show up as Laura. It shows up as Reading Webinar. Okay?
Good point.
Yep.
Very
So
good
that's who
point.
you send it to. Members of the members of the board should not be using the chat except to communicate with Laura. Others can use the chat to communicate more broadly, but it's really only going to be checked for purposes of points of order or questions about procedure or something. So please don't use it to express your agreement or disagreement with something that somebody has said. It will just distract us, and it won't advance anybody's interests.
So, thank you, Ray. One thing that just came to mind is that all documents that will be shared during the public hearing will be shared from my screen. So if you have any documents that have not been sent to me and have not been posted on the website that you're going to want to share, you need to make sure that I have those before the hearing. They'll either be posted on the website or be placed onto my hard drive so that we can share them. No one else will be allowed to share their screen, okay? Any questions on that or concerns about that?
You might just want to check with Dennis and Dan about whether they have additional documents that they intend to submit between now and tomorrow.
There might be some side documents, not ones I'd want to post under the categories here. Is that acceptable? I have an extended timeline, for instance. I added a few things to your timeline, but I don't want to alter what you had here. Should I just send that to you?
Yeah, if you wanted to show it to
Yeah.
the entire board, yes.
Yeah, it'll just be a couple of things, not very many.
Okay, so are you going to want that posted on the website?
I guess it wouldn't hurt.
Okay. Is there any way that you can have it to me by noontime tomorrow?
I'll have it to you this evening.
Excellent. Dennis, did you have anything? Or Vanessa?
Not at this time, but we may, but it'll be in probably as a memo, and I'm not sure it has to be posted, but we'll get that to you by noon if we do.
Okay, great.
I
Thank
don't
you.
have anything else.
Okay, excellent. Anything else that I forgot? Ray, Brian?
Well, I think you want to let each of the board members practice raising their hand and
Taking their hand down.
yeah, and taking their hand down.
So, Harry, if you would like, could you go and click on that same button again and click on raise hand again, and it'll take your hand down?
I've lost it again.
I don't see Nancy on here. Is she here?
Chat, hit chat.
Yeah, Nancy's on here.
Oh, excuse
Okay.
me, participants. Yeah, all right.
Scroll down, Dan.
Raise my hand.
I did. Okay, sorry about that.
Lower hand. Participants. I went to chat.
Okay, so if I could get the board to raise your hand. Nancy?
raise his hand down there. Do I have to sign in up here?
And now if I could get the board to lower your hand.
Okay, lower. Oh, it just says it. All right.
Harry, can you lower your hand?
Says it did. Oh,
Okay. Now if I can get all the rest of the panelists, if I can get all the panelists to raise your hand, please.
Laura, can you lower the hands from where you are?
I can. Okay, all the panelists raised their hands except for Laura. Have we got everybody? Excellent. And
Already lowered it. All right,
Lower.
better stay up there.
just lowered everybody's hands. Okay. And we're not going to use the polling feature, so we're not going to get into that today because all the votes are going to be a roll call. And one other thing that I'd like to also make sure the board understands how to do is if you look at the bottom, if you move your mouse and you look at the bottom left corner, you should see a button that says mute and a button that says video. Go ahead and click on that mute button, and that will make it so that we cannot hear you. Can't hear you. And then go ahead and click on it again, and it will unmute you.
thank you.
Okay, so because of the fact that we're all in the same room, there's a little bit of an echo. If everybody unmutes when they're not talking, and then mutes when they are, it'll help eliminate some of that echo. However, we have to make sure that we kind of pay attention to whether or not we're muted or unmuted when we do want to talk. Okay? Any questions on that part?
Fine.
Did everybody's screen just go black?
No, second.
No.
No.
No? Mine did.
Oh, now it did.
Yeah.
Now we got
Oh,
everyone.
now we're back.
Whoa. Now we're back. We got everyone.
It's not black, but the website's not on.
What do you have, like trees?
No, we have everybody's
background.
is the.
The
I have
group.
Everybody's individual pictures.
Laura, it looked like you stopped screen sharing.
No, I didn't stop sharing. I unplugged the computer.
Ah,
I hit the plug.
That'll do it.
Can you tell I used to do some tech support? You know, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. I've been the worst case so far. Okay, now can you see my trees?
Yeah.
No.
no?
No.
Don't see any trees. I see you.
Oh, a background.
How about now?
I'm
There
happy.
you
Yeah,
are.
there you go.
There's
The
the trees.
trees. There.
Can you put yourself under the trees? You know,
Can you make it rain?
no, please.
No, not today. It rained enough last night. Okay, we're back. All right. So also, I'm really echoing. Can everybody hear an echo besides me?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
that
it's
bad.
a big echo.
It's not
Okay.
bad.
Do I have to do something?
Okay, so next to the mute button, there's a video button. And if you
Yep.
hit that, that's going to make it so that your name is going to appear versus your video.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And for the most part, the board themselves wants to stay up on the video, but it's up to everybody if they want their video up there, if they just want their name to appear.
Right.
Except when it comes to voting. I would prefer that the board be on the screen with the video when we vote. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do a test roll call vote. And we're going to just vote something really silly. Let's make something up. Do you like Mickey Mouse? Harry?
I do.
Nancy?
Yes, I do.
Chris?
Of course. Everybody likes Mickey.
Everybody likes Mickey. Okay. Anything else that I need to cover?
You gonna go over rules and procedures?
Rules and procedures. Very good.
We're going to cover the objections where we start, right? 6.1.
What do you want me to?
Can we do that tonight, Ray?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking. Do what tonight?
Harry would like to go over the objections and what order we're going to do them.
Yeah,
Does,
6.1.1, right? B.
Dan and Dennis, do you have an objection to doing that?
I'm not sure what's on the floor right now.
When we
Harry
start,
would like to talk about the order in which we're going to take stuff up.
I have no objection to that.
By appendix and name?
appendix, right?
Yep.
I thought we were going to be doing it like 6.1.B.
Well, that's not by appendix, that's by petition.
Oh,
I had
Oh, you-
suggested that we do it by petition so that we don't have to jump from petition to petition. But whatever the board wants to do, obviously we'll do it.
yeah, well, see, that's been a problem with navigating for me anyway. I started with petitions and then we came with the objections down near the end. I can't get there, but it's, the objections are, they start with 1 and they go through 6.1.1B, 6.1.2B, 6.13B, and I've done all my listing on that. If you do it by petition, I've got to go look on my list of the pre-work I've done and go find that petition and that name and look at my, what my comments are. I mean, navigating after we've been halfway through this makes it very difficult. You understand what I'm saying?
I would think alphabetically, wouldn't it?
So,
No.
Madam Chair, I have my hand up.
Can I ask a question? You're all in the same room and obviously this is not my first hearing, but my first Zoom hearing on a hearing like this. Normally, what you would do is you take the actual petition, whichever I presume are in order from 1 through whatever, 190, whatever it is, and then compare that to the other material because you're going to have them right there. We can look at on the screen, and we have screenshots of our evidence. And I'm just thinking that it might be easy to go petition 1, petition 2, petition 3. But I see Harry's point. So whatever the board's pleasure, but I just thought it might be easier so you wouldn't have to, if you were actually looking at the actual petition, which I think is probably the best way to compare, rather than a PDF of it or something on the screen. If you can actually compare, I think that might be easier for the board to do, where you're all in the same room and you can actually do that.
Madam Chair, I had my hand up. That was a
But
good
again,
hold on. Okay.
Sorry again, but whatever the board decides to do, we're obviously comfortable with that.
Okay, Dan, go ahead.
Could I show the board the way I've arranged the data in order of appendix and name? It might be helpful to sort of do a hybrid approach here.
Hold on just a second with that. Ray, go ahead first.
All right.
So, I think it makes sense for the board to consider the objections by appendix. And the reason for that is that the ground asserted for the objections are all the same on Appendix A, and then they're all the same for Appendix B, and they're all the same for Appendix C. And so we can when you're considering them, it makes sense to me that you have to keep in mind a legal standard that's applicable to that particular objection. And we do take care of all the ones that have the same legal standard at the same time and then move on. I think Harry's approach seems to make the most sense to me. And and I would suggest, at least for the first few, that we try it that way. And if it turns out that doesn't seem to be working, we can always make an adjustment.
Madam
I
Chair,
would agree.
I would agree.
We should go by appendix. Go ahead, Dan.
could you please bring up my PET-4? I'd like to show the group that, see if it might be helpful in guiding them. Okay, I have arranged everything in order of appendix and name. I also have the objection numbers in a separate column. It's a big spreadsheet. Takes a second to come up here. That's not it.
Oh.
Yeah, make that big. Can you
Okay.
make the print bigger? Zooming in a little. I think that might be at 75. Do it 100%. See what we get. No, that's too big.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
I could read it. Before.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the first column, I have that's my own sequence number, which walks through appendix by name. The second column is objection number, so it's really easy to use the search function in Excel to find any particular objection quickly. Harry, this is the order you've been looking at things in, correct?
Yes, and see on this,
And it's
I
one,
like the objections only because you have the card name signature, and beside it you have a cut and paste for what's on the petition.
right?
There are some cases where you want to look at another view, but it's very easy.
Vanessa is going to send us another document that would have just what you're looking for, that will be posted by noontime tomorrow, that will be able to do exactly what you're looking for. It's going to be the same ejection, except it's going to give us some searchable results.
So be going down by appendix.
It'll be done by appendix, by objection.
So what I'm going to have to do is go into my paper here. I got 5 pages. I'm going to have to search through there for that name, for that appendix, and then that's fine. I'll have a comment.
It'll be on the screen for you ahead of time.
Okay, but I'd like to look at what I've done already. You know, I've done the work. I have some comments. I have some acceptances. I have some where I have to look more. But I've looked at some rejections, and they're very clear. And you're saying that's going to happen. It's just going to take a long time for me to do that. Now I can rearrange some stuff. I go home tonight and reorder what I have. We'd go appendix A, B, C, that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis, you have your hand up?
Yes. My concern with Dan, I think Dan, in some ways, Dan is right that this is a hybrid, but what does not have our evidence in there. So I would be concerned if we use this only.
Can we switch back and forth? I think it'd be beneficial. I mean, I can hunt in your order here. Yeah.
All right.
I have a problem. Every statement starts out, the signature is valid.
Not everyone.
Okay, true. But it is, I'm getting a pre answer when I haven't had a chance to do the comparison.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
So perhaps we could go in order. when Dennis and Vanessa reorder their data, they could make their case. Is this going to be an interactive thing, Laura, where on each signature we're going to get to talk after you receive the evidence? Is that helpful?
No,
I didn't think so.
no,
Oh.
the way the procedures are set out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
each side will get an opportunity to present their evidence at the beginning before we start deliberating about individual
Yes.
objections.
Okay.
Each side is going to make a presentation.
Right.
We're given an opportunity to make a
On
presentation.
the evidence.
That's right.
Right.
So we're not going to be using this any version of that spreadsheet until after that happens,
Right.
and the board will then have an opportunity to discuss the information that has been provided, and if during the course of their deliberations the board has questions about information that has been provided, they will address those questions to the appropriate person, generally
Okay.
Dennis or Dan. This is not an opportunity for you to present additional commentary on the signatures. That's what all the pre-filed direct testimony was all about. So it is assumed that everything that you have to say on the subject has been already submitted in writing.
It has.
We will give you an opportunity to make a presentation in which you can highlight whatever you think needs to be highlighted to make our job easier. But after that, the board will deliberate on its own and ask questions based on the order, the affidavit order. And depending on the particular type of objection and the information that the board has, the board will use whatever opportunities avail themselves to consider objections in a group rather than having to look at each individual one. That's not going to be possible for all of them, and we'll talk about that as they come up. But you are not going to be invited to make a comment on each one as we go forward unless the board has a particular question for you. Got it?
Yep.
So, Dennis, you had your hand up?
Yes, one question is, Ray, you said that we would could give a little presentation. Is that before each appendix or at the very beginning of the hearing?
No, that's at the very beginning of the hearing.
All right, so at the very beginning, time limit of 5 minutes, 4 minutes, an hour?
It's got to be a little more than that.
It's going to be more than that.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we said 15 minutes.
Yes, I believe we said 15 minutes.
So at the beginning of the hearing, we can have like an opening statement of 15 minutes?
That's correct.
Well, does that the opening statement include the time we need to talk through some of our evidence or not? That's it? 15 minutes?
That's it. That's
Okay.
your opportunity. Your evidence was presented in written form.
Right.
So
And the board-
we don't need you to present their evidence. This is where you can highlight things that you think are of particular importance or
And the board will
make
have read
whatever
it.
legal argument you want to make.
Nancy, you had your hand up at one point. Are you all set?
I'm all set. I actually did a little revision of the PEP 4 spreadsheet that was out there,
Good.
and but it sounds like maybe that's what Vanessa's to do. So,
Nancy, we can't hear you too well.
oh, okay. Never mind.
Julie, see if she's muted, please.
She's not muted. She's just not loud.
Um, so, um, I can, Dan, did you have your hand up?
No.
So, Ray, tell me what you think about this idea. I can take, Vanessa's going to send the spreadsheet that has all of the objections. I can go through that and make sure that it is in something very similar to what Dan has submitted. Make sure that it has information that's needed to take a vote without any kind of opinion offered, and we can use that to go by, that would be done by appendix alphabetically.
Incidentally, there is more to the right there. The emails that came in have been cut and paste. So I just want the board to be aware of that. If you want to see the emails.
The entire email?
Yes.
All of them?
Yeah, it's in either the text.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the email address and date received. You can screw. So that's kind of a one-stop shopping.
That's good. Yeah.
And
Ray?
Well, Laura, if you could scroll down, what we're looking at is, as I understand it, is Dan's spreadsheet for Appendix A.
Now we're in C. The appendix number is in the third column.
Okay. All right. So if you go all the way back up to the top, now we're in A. And A has how many? 5?
10.
10. Okay. And of those 10, I can't count, I can't see them all, but several of them have been withdrawn. 5 maybe? 5 have been withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the next version of Vanessa's spreadsheet, only the 5 that have not been withdrawn will still be will be shown.
And Ray, the WDs indicate the withdrawns, and
Yeah, I get it, but you know, it makes the document easier to use. If it's withdrawn, let's just take it off.
well, I would scrunch it up, except there's a lot of little JPEGs in there that kind of move around when you do that.
Okay.
So that's the only reason I didn't do that.
Okay. All right. Well,
And Dennis might have the same issue.
okay. This seems to be continuing to be scrolling. Okay.
That's because I'm sorry, Ray.
All right.
I've got my
I
hand
think
raised.
for the purpose for the purpose of deliberation, we either need no comments, so get rid of column S, or we need comments from both sides. But I think I'm sort of inclined to think that that if the purpose of this spreadsheet is to organize our deliberations,
it's also for rebuttals too. I mean,
And please do not interrupt.
I'm inclined to think that what we want is something that's more neutral. That is, doesn't include arguments sitting there in front of us.
Which is what I will do tonight. I will take this spreadsheet and I will take the one that Vanessa sends, and I will compare the two and make sure that they're both have the same list of names, and make sure that it's neutral.
Okay, but you say you're going to do it tonight, but Vanessa didn't promise to get it to you till noon tomorrow. So
I will get it to Laura as soon as I can, most likely tonight. And
Okay.
apologies, I didn't raise my hand.
mine's up.
Dan, go ahead.
Thank you. What I can do tonight, when there's a long email, I've been using that text field. I would like a chance to create another field for just email content if it needs 2 boxes, and then we can just hide that column.
I would prefer not to include the text. We'll just identify that if,
No, the emails I'm talking about.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I would prefer not to include the text of the emails
Why is that?
because it's not a neutral thing.
It's evidence.
It's your side.
That's right. Yeah, and she's not saying it's good to be excluded
Right.
from the hearing. She's
So-
just saying that if we're going to agree upon a document that's going to organize the deliberations, that document should look something like this document that's in front of us,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't have arguments in it.
Right.
It should just have, basic information. The facsimile of the signature on the petition, I think, is okay, but as the comments, those are, we don't want to include that in a document that's designed to just organize how we proceed. We certainly have the opportunity to look at those comments in another document and say this version of the document, and the corresponding comments that Dan lists. But I don't think that we want to be working from a document that includes arguments on it. So, Dennis, I don't know what you think about that, but it seems like columns A through
Trying to get
R are
on.
neutral.
I got my raised hand.
I agree with you, Ray. I don't think
Yeah.
we should have arguments on it, just the actual documents with either the registration card and the signature so that you can compare them when that's the issue.
Or if there's 2 different ones and the issue is that, like in the first group, the issue is whether they're duplicates.
Yes.
So,
Okay, Harry, you have your hand up?
Yes, that's a nice chart, but if you had another column right beside it with a facsimile from the card file, that would be information. That's what we could deliberate on. That is what is in the objections at 1B, and that's what was made it, and I can make simple comments to the panel, and it was yes, no, or question. And this does not do that. I've got to go, where's the card file? That's one question. The other question is, they only get 15 minutes to make a presentation overall. Okay, that's an overall presentation. But they've sent a lot of documents. Some of them seem to be very important to the outcome of this hearing. When do they get to argue those for they want to throw out some things or add some things. When does that happen? Do we immediately go into this horse that I put up front about doing the presentation of the objections and comparing it with the card file? That's my second question.
Laura, with your permission,
Go ahead.
to address that. So, all of the evidence, all of the legal arguments, all of the factual arguments should already have been made by now.
All right.
They were all submitted, should have all been submitted in writing. And so I would not expect there to be additional evidence that anybody should need to present beyond what's already in the record.
Okay.
Now, there might be an unusual circumstance. I'm not saying that that something won't come up, but for the most part, we need to expect that all of the evidence that we're going to be considering is already here. We've got it all. And now, as far as as far as the presentation goes, that's more or less, as Dennis described it, an opening argument that can highlight particular points that have been made in the evidence or particular legal arguments that have been made, to maybe help you to understand what the different sides think is the most important. But the only additional evidence that needs to come in here is if one of you as a board member has a question, something is not clear to you, or you're not sure what to make of something that you see, you can pose the question to the relevant person, who hopefully will be able to answer it. And that part will happen once you get to the review of each individual appendix.
Okay, good.
Nancy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I want to go back to the chart again. And in addition to the indicating that the person submitted an email, it would also be helpful if that email, if it was noted in that in another column, that the email met the testimony requirements, or if it's a non-testimonial, using the right
Fuck you.
terminology. And then in addition to that, if we're not including the comments, maybe just something simple like, why did they send it in? Like, were they affirming their signature, yes or no? Or was it something other? But I think it would be helpful to have the testimony versus non-testimony, if how the email came in.
Agree.
Okay. Laura, if I may, to my knowledge, I have not seen any emails that would satisfy what I would consider to be testimonial evidence. I think they're all non-testimonial.
Amen.
Harry? So, can I ask a question on that? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
So when you say testimonial, non-testimonial, if they specifically state under the pains of penalty of perjury, I identify that this is my genuine signature, is that considered testimonial?
Well, it's closer, but none of those emails are well, what I would have liked to see is something that a PDF that had the statement signed by the person. Most of these things are just email text. They didn't send in documents. Maybe I've overlooked one or two that were in that form, and so I don't want to say it as an absolute thing. This is not a criticism of the emails, and I'm certainly not inviting everybody to now submit them again. The purpose of distinguishing between testimonial and non-testimonial was only to give you an idea of assigning weight. A document that has a signature from the person and it's sworn to has more weight than one that doesn't have those things. And if it has the statement that it's sworn under pain and penalty and perjury, but it's not signed, that's better than if it doesn't say that. But it's not as good as if there was an actual signature on it. That said, we're not saying that evidence is not good evidence. This only goes to how much weight to give it. And since all of those emails, virtually all of those emails, are in the same form, there's no need to distinguish between those that are testimonial and those that are not. They're all going to be given same evidence, the same weight as each other.
So they're all, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So they're all going to be considered non-testimonial.
I think so. I may have overlooked one or two that I'd make the case satisfy the testimonial requirement, but I don't think you want to get too hung up on the difference between those two. It will, I think, be obvious in most cases how much weight you should assign to the email when you are deliberating.
So just as a side note, there are a couple letters that I do have that are signed that have been posted, and I have two more that I just found that will get posted tonight. So those would be considered testimonial because they have a signature.
Yes.
And they're sworn?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so no, if it's a signature but they're not sworn, then it's no different from if they're sworn and have no signature.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, you have your hand up?
I can hear it. I'm just confused. What was the purpose then? If someone questioned the signatures, we have to prove that all we go by then is if the signature matches the registration card. Is that the only evidence we use?
No, you still can use the email evidence if there is email evidence. Understand when you make rules about proceeding, you have to make them before you see what the evidence actually is. So what we were trying to do in setting up the procedures was to encourage people to submit sworn testimony with a signature on it. Because we could have the greatest confidence in the veracity of that evidence. We're not suggesting that that you should ignore an email that doesn't satisfy that requirement, only that it's not in the best form that gives us the greatest confidence. That said, if the only evidence that we have with respect to a particular signature is you have the signature itself, the signature on the voter card, and an email, the email, could very well be dispositive for that particular situation. So it may turn out to be the most important piece of information. We won't know that until we consider it.
Nancy, you have your hand up?
Going back to the signatures again and that column, it sounds like most of the emails that came in were affirming the validity of their signature. Were there any other emails that came in for any other reason? Either, they wanted to be taken off the petition, or they had some other complaint that they wanted to voice? Or are we assuming that all of the emails are affirming the validity of a signature on the petition?
So I read every single one of the emails, and every single one of them except for one was confirming the validity of their signature.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one email that's an exception is a statement a person does not remember signing.
Ray, I do think we're straying a little bit into some of the substantive matters that we wanted to reserve for tomorrow.
I think that's true.
These are certainly valid questions that the board could pose to both hearing participants, even after the opening arguments, if they had questions about. This is exactly the type of flexibility they have when they deliberate to ask questions and ask for follow-up information. So it's a great example of that, I think.
Okay, so I think with that said, I'm going to end the conversation, and I'm going to state that I will have an Excel spreadsheet very similar to what Dan has, after, including the combination of what Vanessa sends, that will have absolutely no opinion, and allow us to use to compare the signature along with the voter registration card. Does that satisfy the board?
Yes.
Ray and Dennis and Dan, are you okay with that?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I will be presenting some arguments about all the factors tomorrow and that need to be considered. I think Ray did touch on some of that in the 3-page guidance email, letter that he sent out. So I think it may go beyond the simple comparison of the signatures. For instance, if there's you will see some cases, I don't want to get into the substance again, but there are other factors, suffice it to say, that, and I will be talking about that in my 15 minutes of time. So that's why, I'd like to make this as useful as possible by scrubbing it of opinion, and I would welcome the opportunity to have some suggestions about how to do that. And I would devote myself to doing that between now and when the hearing starts. So is there anything I can do to make this more of a useful product without opinion?
No, I'll take responsibility for that, Dan.
Okay, it's a lot of work. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else that we do need to take on tonight? Anybody have any comments from the board? Any concerns from the board?
It's just going to slow down my deliberations, that's all, the way this is going.
I'm sorry, Harry?
Seeing the facsimile from the petition is good. I need to tie that. The whole object of this exercise is to compare that signature on the petition with what's in the card file.
And I just stated we were going to have that.
On this document here.
Yes.
That's great. That is beautiful. That's really important. The other thing is there were places where it said there was no card. It has.
Right.
There's quite a few. The card wasn't signed, or it was no card. Is that going to be evidence that? How's that handled?
So that question has come up a few times. Vanessa, I'll recognize you in just a moment. I just wanted to address this. There was a time when you registered to vote, way back when, that you did not have to sign a voter registration card. So what happened is you paid a visit to the office, you showed your ID, and an index card was created. That index card did not have a signature on it, so therefore we do not have a signature for that voter. What's happening now is over time, those index cards are being replaced as the voter goes to the RMV and makes updates on their driver's license or real ID. In that case, we're getting the signature. But the cards that have been submitted means that that's all we have. We do not have a signature for that particular voter. Vanessa, you were first.
Thank you, Laura. I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear on how the document needs to be organized. So I'm removing any that have been withdrawn, and I'm sorting it. So I'll only keep the ones that are still active, and I will sort them. I will make them in Excel or Word.
Excel, please.
Okay. Any other requirements?
I just need to be able to sort it.
Okay. Does that mean that the document will not contain any of the images?
So that's a good point. When you sort in Excel and you have images, those images do not sort.
Correct. So am I then removing the images? because the images are sort of the whole point.
When you did it in Word, did you do it in a table?
I did.
So send me the Word document in the table because I can sort that. Word will sort the image.
Okay, you got it.
Unless anybody tells me different, I'm 99% sure I can sort the image in Word.
I've never done it, but that doesn't mean it can't be done.
Okay. All right. Because we'll give it a shot. And
Laura?
Dennis had your hand up?
Yes, on the issue of the signatures that did not have cards, because we could not carry our burden of proof, by and large, those have been withdrawn unless there were other grounds for the objection.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. And Dan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Laura, something that might help you out. There's a sort of a translation key in the first two columns there that you might find helpful in sorting, especially in Appendix F, because that's not strictly alphabetic, because those are groupings. So if you sort it alphabetically in F, you're not going to get the right groupings of people that were alleged to have signed for each other. So if you want to use the pet seek number and the object number, I think that's what you want to do, because that will give you the right sequence enough.
So, Ray, didn't the groupings get put into the procedures as to how we were going to group them?
So the answer is yes. We said. Did I hear somebody say no?
Yes, you did.
Sorry.
I've lost voice.
Okay.
Um,
I don't recall there being something that said I don't believe there was anything in there that said what order we would consider the objections. No.
okay, so
Uh,
thank you. Vanessa, you have your hand up?
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I just wanted to ask if the board would consider adjourning by 6:30 tomorrow, as I have a board meeting that follows.
RCTV has already requested that. Dan, did you have your hand up?
yes. Was there still a question on the ordering in F? You might clear it up by bringing up the document from the web that had the detailed complaint on Appendix F, and I think I can illustrate my point. You could bring that up in Adobe.
Which document is that?
Let's see, that would be OP10. Now you see the groupings. The allegation here is that one person signed for the others in the group, and you can see it's a mix of alphabetization. I have that all sequenced correctly. If you did it alphabetically, it's going to mess everything up. And furthermore, there are some pairings where there was one person withdrawn and the other one's still in, so I don't know what kind of sense that makes, or maybe they're saying the one that was withdrawn did the signing. So you'll have to ask why that was done. But my key there will help you get this order correct. That's my point. First two columns.
Okay. So as you, Vanessa has requested, and as you heard, RCTV is requesting that we try to end the meeting tomorrow night before 7, as the select board is meeting at 7. And RCTV needs to be able to record that meeting, as well as Vanessa needs to be able to attend. So just so everybody's informed. Anything else that we need to talk about? Vanessa, you have your hand up?
Oh, sorry, just forgot to take it down.
You're up again. Okay, Ray, Brian, anything else that we need to talk about tonight?
No, I think we're fine for now.
Dennis, Vanessa?
I think we're fine. Thank you. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, board members, and Ray and Ryan and Dan.
And Dan, anything else?
No, thank you very much for your time, everybody.
And does the board have anything else?
Could you just go over the mute with me? Oh, I should read my, right?
The
You know,
mute?
Yeah, would you just,
So on the bottom, if you move your mouse,
yeah,
on the bottom left-hand side, there's a
Yeah.
button that says mute.
yeah.
If you hit that, then you're muted, and when you can talk and nobody will hear you.
No, you can't hear me?
I can now, yes.
Yeah, but I just pressed it.
Does
Okay.
it have a line through it?
I see, now it is the line for, okay.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
I would just like to say, this has been a very long, hard process, and everyone's put in a lot of time, including the Board of Registrars. So I want to thank everyone for trying to order this up. I'm just upset that I have to go back and try to correlate all this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Harry?
Adjourn.
Nancy?
Adjourn.
Chris?
Adjourn?
And Laura, adjourn. And we are adjourned at 5:23.